So, I know that movies take a long time to shoot and edit and do all of the stuff that is needed for movies to do before release. It can take anywhere from 9 months to several years. So, I don't want to say that the success of It Chapter 1 has spurred this recent trend of clown-based horror movies, but I will say that it is an incredible coincidence that more than a handful of these movies have come out since then, considering it seems like we were finally moving away from this whole genre. But the recent arrival of great movies like Gags the Clown and weird nonsense bullshit documentaries like Wrinkles the Clown, which I might get around to if I ever feel like wasting more time than I already do. The non-horror but still clown-based entry of Joker and everything between that whole spectrum. It seems like we've entered a kind of weird clown renaissance. And it's with that in mind that I want to turn our attention to this week's entry, the enticingly and creatively named Clown. This is a recent movie that released earlier this year, high copyright claims, and tells the story of a group of teenagers who come across an abandoned funhouse and find it filled with a killer clown who's been waiting a long time for a new audience for a show. The opening has a very tourist trap feel to it, you know, the old film about the psychic killer who turns people into mannequins. And it isn't until we really enter the funhouse proper that it begins to feel like its own unique movie. I guess with all that out of the way, let's buy our ticket and enter the funhouse. Our film begins a long time ago in the faraway time of 1994. America Online was the cutting edge of 56K online services. Rocco's Modern Life had been on the air for 2 years, and a young baby boy who would grow up to do horror videos on the internet was really into Are You Afraid of the Dark? Also, I guess somewhere in Nevada there was a rural hick town that was convinced by a preacher that circuses were evil, and all of the people that worked at that circus needed to be killed. This has led to a large hunt where the townsfolk have chased them all down and killed them, except for one small boy who literally rips a man's head off with his bare hands. It's not really made clear how he survived the rest of the entire town hunting him down, but I guess he just used the traps in the funhouse, because we're just going to cut to black and jump to modern day 2019. A group of teenagers are waiting by their parked cars because one of their members had to go and take a piss. We joined this piss taker his name is Davey, and he's decided to go on a fucking nature hike like there's not a group of people waiting for his dumbass. He eventually stumbles onto a ghost town filled with clown effigies and keeps taking pictures for his Instagram. When he starts to make his way into the fun house, he is attacked by a clown wielding a giant mallet. It is through these aforementioned Instagram posts that his friends realize that he's wandering around like a d-hole and go looking for him. When they eventually stumble across the same ghost town and fun house, they have a debate about whether or not they should go inside. I'm not going to make this like a racial thing, but this is a horror movie, so this is important. But the two darker skinned characters have made the intelligent decision to not want to enter this fucking fun house, but are goaded and insulted by these two white girls until they agree to enter. This is important for what's going to happen later. Almost immediately after entering the house, they lose another member of their party. The youngest member, a small boy named Cody. They try to call the owners of the funhouse, but get an answering machine instead. When they try to call Cody or Davey, though, they get the exact same answering machine message. Unnerved by the fact that this thing is intercepting their calls, they continue looking for Davey until they come across a hanging sack behind a glass wall. It seems to be moving, and when a grown-up clown appears and begins whacking it with a mallet, it's revealed that Cody's inside, performing one of the worst ADRs that I have ever heard. Cody never reacts to being hit. There's no grunts or exclamations of pain, nothing but constant calling for help that is completely unaffected by the fact that he is being beaten to death. This does force the others into a blind panic and make them split into 3 groups. When the 2 guys who didn't want to come in here to begin with break off to try to make their way back to the entrance, Sarah and Gordy sprint off in a panic, and Austin and Sally, Austin being the Fred Jones of this group, are separated by the ever-changing walls in the funhouse. They are controlled by a mechanism. This leads to Sally being locked in a small box where she's just kind of taunted and teased by the clown. He hangs around her, squeaking his little horn, and just looks at her menacingly. It's really weird. He doesn't actually do anything. Sarah, meanwhile, is in fucking hysterics, constantly in the midway point between crying and being pissed off about the situation that she put herself in. When Gordy gets trapped in a room and breaks his fucking ankle, she just, like, you can see how his foot is angled sideways and he's putting all of his weight onto this broken ankle, and she is being a giant bitch about this. She starts giving him shit about how slow he's walking on his broken fucking ankle, giving him shit for the fact that he has the nerve to cry out in pain when she's been yelling at the top of her lungs for 10 minutes, and how hard this is for her to move because she has to help him. Another girl whose name I'd forgotten for most of this film, it's Jillian, but there's no real need for you to know that because she's cannon fodder, enters a room filled with old ceramic dolls that cry out for their mom. When she embraces one of them, the others awaken and begin moving as well. It's revealed that the clown is somehow controlling all of the fine motor functions of this small army of dolls, all acting individually, with a series of small fucking levers that only move up and down. But whatever. They go completely cannibal on her until she escapes the room, but eventually passes out from blood loss. Back with the other two, they stumble across the clown's living space and think that they found a way out when they run into the clown himself. Being the tough aggro football players that they are, they decide that they can take him and try to charge him, but instead actually stumble on a way out through an attraction called the Barrel of Laughs. It's one of those things where you crawl through it while it spins around while you're inside it. They're really fun. So Marcus tries to crawl through, only to find out that it's been supercharged and his body is flung around violently and painfully, with nice little insert cuts of his bones breaking as he bounces until he dies. We rejoin Gordy and Sarah on the most accurate tunnel of love that I've ever seen, that they're riding to kind of just take the weight off of his ankle. When they exit though, they come across a Jack-in-the-Box on the floor, which they open for some reason that I will never understand. It does turn out to be a normal Jack-in-the-Box though. But then they stumble on a much bigger one. This one contains their dead friend Marcus. They are then both captured by the clown in pretty short order, and Sarah is taken to his main showroom where he begins to show them a video of his old family circus. As they watch this video, the clown kind of recuses himself to reapply his makeup and get himself back into character by watching home videos where he promises that he will keep the family circus going no matter what happens. Austin, who has so far survived by hiding in vents in the wall, breaks into the living area after he leaves and steals the home movies, and also the clown's mom's cut off face for some reason. But we return to the main stage to begin the show. First up, in the first ring, we have the linebacker whose name I never learned. He will perform an amazing popcorn trick as a pre-recorded video of him being covered in unpopped kernels is shown, followed by the oven that he is in turning on and increasing in heat, cooking and popping all of the kernels around him. Eventually, the ones in his mouth and intestines begin to pop, causing his body to swell and the popcorn to begin flowing out of his mouth. Eventually, he pops with the rest of them. It's a pretty good opening act. Gonna be hard to top that, but they're gonna try in the second ring when Sally and Jillian will perform the Promethean fire trick. It's really just them being tied to a post and burned like a pair of witches. Austin manages to distract the clown by playing his home movie over the recording of the circus and freeing the others. Davey, who caused all of this by being an asshole, refuses to leave the already dead Cody behind, to the degree of putting everyone else's lives in danger by carrying his corpse instead of helping their injured friend. Austin and Davey are forced to take a detour to send Cody down the tunnel of love for no reason except to slow them down. They then try to escape through the maze, Sarah complaining the entire goddamn time, until eventually the clown catches up with them. What follows is an amazing chase sequence, up there with haunted houses where the characters aren't allowed to touch you but you're moving too slow, so they keep taunting you from just outside of grabbing distance. Jillian is then crushed by a fucking closing steel reinforced wall, but somehow survives this, and is instead stabbed by an exploding mirror for no reason. There's no reason for this mirror to explode except that she touched it, and I guess that's what it does. Austin and Davy decide to stay behind and hold back the clown. Now, Davy, I understand, since this whole thing is 120% his fault. The first 100% being because he decided to take a nature hike while he was peeing, and the 20% because he fucking carried Cody's corpse, making them waste a whole fuck ton of time that they could have been using to escape. I don't understand why Austin has to pay for his brother's stupidity, but here we go. Their face-off goes about as good as you would expect. Davy gets his throat cut instantly by a parasol that I'm pretty sure was stolen from the penguin, and then his eye gets pulled out. Austin gets a pretty good shot in, but is then, beaten by a giant mallet. It's all shown in shadow, but the swings are the most comical, no force behind them blows I have ever seen. The clown then cuts off Davy's stomach skin and puts it on his face for some reason before leaving them for dead. But Austin isn't dead. He puts the clown's mom's face on while the house is being eaten by CG flames. I don't know why he does this, because he never runs into the clown again. He just puts it on for no reason. Austin manipulates the controls to the funhouse maze, trapping them both inside as the funhouse burns down around them. Sarah and Sally, the girl who would not stop complaining about how hard this whole thing was for her, and the white bitch who taunted two people into going in there to begin with when they didn't want to, walk away almost completely unharmed while everyone else is dead. Wow, that was an adventure, wasn't it? That was a horror film, if ever there was one. It follows all the tropes from horror movies that you could want. Stupid teens, abandoned in spooky town, over-the-top nonsensical murder, paper-thin characters that you want to see die. The only thing that was missing from this movie was nudity and premarital sex. But weirdly enough, those things have really fallen off in recent horror, and maybe I'll talk about that at one point. So, why did I choose to talk about this movie when I hate most of the teens in it? And the answer is a two-parter. Part one is that I hate most of the teens in all horror movies. You have to. If you care about them, it makes the movie less fun when they die. If you want to have an actually tense and scary horror movie, then yes, it's important to have likable and empathetic characters. Your Laurie Strodes, Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, the entire cast of Stranger Things. But if you're just making a fun little one-off film about a serial killer and that whole haunted shit, then yeah, make those fuckers paper thin and make your killer as interesting as possible. Which brings me to point two, whereas Gags was a spooky figure whose happenings took a backseat to the lives of the characters in his movie, this clown is the star of every scene he is in. He is a character who is constantly putting on a show, not just for us, but also for his victims. He even has to take a moment to get back into character, to recollect himself and continue the show. His exaggerated movements and random sounds make him fun to watch. And while sometimes there are scenes too foolish because of reasons that aren't his control, see Cody and Austin's death mallet beatings, the actual big top show that he puts on is a nice mixture of fun and entertaining, while also still threatening, because he wants them to watch and it seems like he wants them to enjoy the show, but he is still 100% going to kill them, and they know that. Clown isn't breaking any molds or blazing new trails, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good time. And that's really why I watch horror movies. It's very rare that I'm unnerved or genuinely scared by horror anymore. I just like to have fun with them and the nonsense and the design and the whole world of it. And I had a lot of fun watching this movie. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're like me, then give it a shot. That's going to be it for me this week. And as always, whether you like, comment, or subscribe or not, you're still a friend to me. If you'll excuse me,
I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.
Good night.
We got place to go, things to do, people to see, and we gotta get it done right away.